Happy Tuesday. I don't know if we're live or not. Top corner says yes, bottom corner says no. Now we're good. We got two red lights. Means go. Seriously. Facebook, what the heck? All right, let me pull up the comments on my phone, make sure we're all good here. And let's jump in today. So last week on our call, the wonderful Annie had asked a question about how I assess horses. How do we assess what to do, especially when we're bringing in a horse that is maybe from a not so great situation, right? Well, here's the secret. Ready? All horses are assessed the same. This is going to be the same whether this is a new to you horse and they come from a shady situation, a not happy situation, or if this is the horse that you've had for, its entire life, it was born on your property. The assessment is going to be the same. The difference is going to be our starting point of information, not the physical starting point of the horse, not the emotional starting point of the horse, but how much information do we actually have, okay? So in order to know where we're going to start, we're gonna go through the 6 steps, okay? 6 steps to assessing a horse. This is my signature intuitive assessment strategy, okay? For full transparency, guys, we have 20 minutes, okay? I'm not going to be able to go in depth with you on how to do each of these steps. And we don't have time for that, okay? And I'm also not going to be able to tell you how to solve the problems you find, right? Like, we got 20 minutes today. We're going over the surface level, the 6 steps that it's going to take. And for the in-depth stuff, like all of that stuff is covered in the Intuitive Equine Bodywork Certification Program. The intuitive assessment strategies are the basis of that program, okay? And just for clarity on that as well, yes, it's a certification program. You as a horse owner can absolutely take that program. The program is made for someone who wants to pursue a business. I want people that are going to go out and they're going to help more horses. That is what this program is made for. It is made to create a ripple across the horse industry where we can solve problems and help horses. That's what it's for. However, if you're like, I really want to know this stuff and help my own horses, but probably never going to run a business, you're still invited to come into the program, learn all of the things, and impact your horses because you're still making a ripple. You're still helping horses, okay? You don't have to walk away with the certification and go start a business. That's not the point. The point is just to help horses. So the program is for everybody, but it is made specifically for people who want to go start a business, who want to make money, leave their 9 to 5, commit their life to helping horses feel better, be better, do better, right? Okay, so let's stop fucking gabbing because we have 20 fucking minutes and move into these 6 steps, okay? Step number one, take a history. What does this mean? What do you know about this horse? Now, if it's new to you and it's coming from a kill pen, you're going to have big gaps in history. And this is kind of a bummer, but we can work with it, right? The history doesn't always tell us everything. A lot of times, taking a history just helps us fill in the pieces, helps us to understand what we're seeing makes sense, right? Helps us to understand where we came from so that we know how the heck we're going to get to where we want to go, right? And it also kind of helps us get a logical, hey, Annie, a logical idea of what's possible for this horse, right? If we know that they are coming from a really bad situation, and they've been malnourished for a very long time, they've had a lot of injuries that haven't been treated, there's a good chance that we can't expect them to go on and be an Olympic show jumper. It just gives us that range of what's possible for them. When we take a history, we want age, any major medical history that we can be aware of, any illnesses that they had, anything at all, whether that's arthritis, broken bones, abuse, all the things. We want to know as much as we possibly can. And then we're just going to take that information, we're going to stick it in our back pocket, and we're going to hold on to it, okay? Step 2, we're going to look at pictures. We're going to take pictures and assess posture. And then we're going to take video and assess movement. Okay, so this is a big assessment of what we see. Okay, through the steps here, we're looking to engage all of our senses. I mean, preferably except for taste, right? We don't want to taste it. We want to see it. We want to touch it. We want to feel it. We want to know what is going on with all of our senses, because that's how we can engage more of our intuition. Because intuition is just something that happens. It is a perception of all the information we're taking in. So we're going to take pictures and assess posture, and we're going to look at video and assess movement. Now, why am I telling you to take pictures and video when the horse is just in front of you, and why can't you just look at it? I will tell you from experience that things just look different through the lens of a camera. Also, horses fidget, horses move. It's a lot easier to assess a picture of them standing still than trying to get them stand still long enough for you to go, I think maybe that kind of looks like. And when we have a picture, we can put it into awesome technology on our phones, on our computers, where we can draw lines. We can mark up that photo and really assess the straightness of things. And it gives us just a completely different perspective. Sometimes you just can't see it when you're looking at a live horse, but in the picture, you're like, there's no doubt here, no doubt whatsoever that this hip's higher than that one, that this shoulder is higher than that one, that these legs are not standing vertical straight up and down. They're camped under, they're camped out. Whatever the issue is, you can just see it better in a picture. And then when it comes to movement, we want to be able to replay something. We want to be able to go, wait a minute, did I just see that? Is that what happened? And if your horse trips or stumbles, and that's something that they're dealing with a lot, we get to rewind the video, not keep making the horse do the same action over and over and over again. Pictures and videos, priceless. Not only that, okay, not only are we here and we're like, oh, this is just easier to assess when we have these things on film, if you will, but this is how you're going to track what's going on. This is how you're going to track progress moving forward. So this is a great marker for assessment, but we're going to use it again later. We're going to come back to it and be like, holy shit, look at the changes here. And if you hadn't taken pictures and if you didn't have video, you wouldn't be able to do that, okay? So the third step is going to be a hands-on evaluation. Some of you were lucky enough to come to the virtual hands-on evaluation clinic and learn how to do this yourself. There are two different kinds of evaluation that I do with my hands. One is skeletal and one is muscular. Do I do them both at the same time? Yes, I do, but that's because I've been doing this for a while. So I often teach it, and it is taught in the certification program as two separate pieces that you can put together when you're ready. But first we go through and we assess the skeleton. Any odd lumps and bumps where there shouldn't be lumps and bumps? Are things balanced the way they should be? Does anywhere just feel like one of the places that I feel it a lot is in the cervical vertebrae, so along the neck. A lot of times it'll be like, oh, this side dents in and this side dents out. What does that tell me? Skeletal misalignment. Kind of same in the area of the ribs. Like this one just pops out a little bit more than the other. Probably a skeletal misalignment. When we get back to the pelvis, are the hips level? Are the ilium level? Are the ischium level? Like, what are we dealing with back here? Are we dealing with a rotation? You know, we're assessing the skeleton. Okay. Again, 20 minutes. I can't walk you through that. Same with muscles. We're going to go through, we're going to palpate all the muscles. Where are we getting reactions? Is there extra heat somewhere where there shouldn't be? Okay. It's lumps, bumps, textures, all the things. We're just feeling for all those things. And again, we're just taking in all this information. When I do this, I don't often make notes, but this is something in the beginning. You can take notes as you're moving along with what you're feeling, finding. I like to use voice notes for that kind of thing instead of having paper and pen that I'm trying to keep track of while I'm putting my hands on a horse. But for the most part, when I do this, I really am just, it's information that's all adding up in my head, right? Like I took the history, it's all in here, but I kind of put it to the back of my mind. Like I said, I put it in my back pocket. I've looked at the pictures, I've looked at the video, I've seen the horse move, I've assessed the posture, and now I've done my hands on, and all these things are supporting, like pieces are this plus this plus this equals, yes, the problem that I'm finding. While going through all of this, what tends to happen is I get an idea, and it doesn't always make sense. Okay, it doesn't always make sense. And that is usually where I end up coming back around with all my information and being like, this is the problem. This is the problem. Okay. Now, before we go any further, let's just move through these last 3 steps. These are quick and easy. Are you ready? Step number 4, we're going to do the work. Okay. So what that means is I put my hands on, I've assessed the pictures, I've taken the history, and I have a pretty good idea of what's going on here. I'm going to apply massage techniques, energy techniques, whatever it is I think needs to happen at that point. Okay. And this is often a gut thing, right? The more information you have, the more tools in your pocket, the easier it is to decide what comes first. If you don't have these tools, you can, 1, reach out for help, but 2, you can also just do what you know, do what you have. So in the case of rescue horses, it's really easy to just be like, the first thing we're going to do is put weight on you. Like 99% of the time they need weight. So we're just going to address diet first and then come back. Okay. So that leads us to step 5, which is wait. We're going to do whatever we can, and then we're going to wait. Step 5 is just fucking wait. Why? Because everybody misses this. This is the step. Number 5 is the hardest fucking step there is, and it's just to fucking stop and wait and let time pass. Because whatever you've done, whether it's applied diet, whether it's applied massage, whether it's craniosacral work, energy work, whatever the fuck it is, your horse gets a chance to adjust to that change. Which leads us to step 6. After we've waited, we're going to come back and we're going to do it all again. Okay. So yes, taking history, we've already done that. Maybe you remember something new. Maybe something's popped for the owner. If you're not the owner, maybe something's popped in your head like, oh, there was this. I forgot all about it, right? The history is pretty simple, but we kind of just go back to that and we say, okay, has what we've seen so far supported the history, or does the history support kind of our hypothesis about where we're going? Okay. We go back and we look at those pictures and the videos and the movement, and we do them again. We're assessing again what's going on. And then we're going to do the hands-on eval. What has changed? Do I usually assess the skeleton like as thoroughly again? No, not usually. Because I look at the pictures and I see what's changed there. And I'm like, yeah, we're moving in the right direction. Or, oh shit, we're not moving in the right direction. But so we're doing the hands-on eval again. Then we're going to do more work. Because you know what's happened is, now this is the way I do it, okay? I'm coming at it from a massage perspective. And I want you to know I did the same thing. When Lightning came home, Lightning is the horse that I rescued from a kill pen. When he came home, I did the same thing with him. Step 1, eat food. Don't worry about any fucking thing else. Okay? And there's been a long waiting period for him because he's not ready. And I can tell. He's not ready to be totally touched and do tons of massage. But we've been adding in energy sessions, right? And now this is a year later. We're almost at the year mark for him coming home. He came home on Halloween. So we're almost at that year mark. When I'm working with typical clients, okay, we do a session and then I don't come back for at least 2 days. And that's like seeing them again on the 3rd day is really fast turnaround. I do it. It works. I don't do it often. A lot of times we're putting 4 or 5 days in between first session and second session. And what happens in between those sessions is the horse adjusts to the little bit of work that we've done, the few changes that we've made, their body responds to it. So even if they're a total hot mess like Lightning was when he came home, right? We changed first we did feet too, right? Like you're going to bring in a rehab horse, like you know you're going to do their feet. You know you're going to feed them more. Don't worry about taking on more projects. Do those things and wait and see how their body changes. Changing the feet changes the body. Changing the body changes the feet. It's a cycle, right? So I usually wait at least 2 days, sometimes a little bit more, and then we're coming back and we're doing all these assessments again because the body is changing, because the movement patterns change, because a structure has been changed, tension has been released, and we get to see from there, was that gut feeling the actual root cause, or was it just the cause of this current compensation pattern? Okay? So every time we get to step 5, we're still going to wait. We're going to take the history, take the pictures and the video, do the hands-on eval, do the work, and then fucking wait. And then do it again. Every time. The cycle is the same every fucking time. So let's talk about an example of this. I actually just got to experience it yesterday. It reminded me how much I fucking love what I do and why I do it this way. So I met a horse yesterday. I've seen him a couple times before. This was not our first encounter. I think he's a little bit worse off than when I saw him probably, what was that, 4 or 5 months ago? And the issue is that this particular horse is not on a regular schedule, and doesn't get he gets really good care, but people only know what they know. Okay, so he's not getting ridden in a way that supports his body. He's being ridden mostly by children, um, as our older saints do, right? So his body's kind of taking a toll. And he's had 2 instances of intermittent lameness since I saw him last. So that fully supports my hypothesis that what is going on in his normal life isn't working for him. Are there going to be major changes to his normal life? Absolutely not. Um, but his owner is committed to being more involved with the kids that ride him, making sure that he's, not being contorted into positions he shouldn't be, and also doing more groundwork with him to support him through this stage in his life. But when I got there, I took his history, figured out what's going on with him recently, learned about his intermittent lameness issues, um, assessed his posture, watched him move a little bit, did my hands-on eval, and as I'm just like kind of evaluating what's going on with him, not only was I finding a lot of tension through his body, but he was shifty. And I don't mean like weird shifty. I mean like he was shifting back and forth on his front feet. Almost like he was going to lift a leg to get a fly, but then he never would. And he did it a lot while I was kind of moving around him. And I asked about it. And she's like, he doesn't do that all the time. And I'm like, okay, that's not really how I feel about it. He's been having intermittent lameness issues. So, right, I'm looking and I start muscle testing and kind of just assessing. And my gut was telling me that it was something up high in the front end. So something in the shoulder region, wither area. Eventually I was like, it's in the withers. Like this is in the withers. And I couldn't explain to you, I couldn't tell you why. Okay, so I do not mention that to the client because I don't know why I'm thinking that. It's just what's coming in. And it's what I'm getting from his shiftiness. That he's just not comfortable in his shoulders. And so it's easier to just keep shifting his weight. Just keep shifting his weight. Eventually I get around to get around him, right? We're on the second side. And I put my hand in between his legs and I touched his sternum. And his head came around so fast to me. Not in a violent way. He's a very sweet horse. But that's when I knew that I was onto something right then and there because he was like, "Whoa, what the fuck are you touching?" Right? Which was interesting because I'd already discovered that his front right leg had restriction moving out. Like it does not want to come out away from his body, which also made me like reinforce the whole like there's something in the shoulder because he's like I couldn't bring it out a half an inch, which in order for a horse to step out to make a turn on the haunches, to just have normal mobility out in the pasture where he needs to move his front end, he couldn't do that, right? So I already noticed that. So what I eventually, like when I got my hand on his sternum and I started really feeling down there, I was like, oh, his sternum was literally shifted, not very far, not like way in his armpit or anything, just a little bit. You could barely notice it. It's shifted to the right though. If his sternum is shifted to the right, that's connected to all the ribs, you know what else is shifted to the right? Well, technically to the left, right? Because on the bottom, where can you see my hands? Okay, so if this is his sternum on the bottom and it's shifting to the right, the withers are also shifting, okay? So when the sternum, actually the way it was shifted, I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing it left to right, right to left. Just ignore that because I know this is mirrored and I can't speak. So this is the right to me. So it shifted to the right. The bottom of the sternum came closer to the right leg, which then would rotate the withers slightly left. And that is why he was feeling more compressed in this right side, why there was a lot more tension there, and contributing to his shiftiness. Like, how can I just get my shoulders in the right places around my withers, right? Going through this process led me to that point where I'm like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. This is a huge problem. So I'm going to do my job, and then in 2 days, the chiropractor is going to come. With any luck at all, this is not going to be an issue that the chiropractor has to fix because releasing muscle tension allows the bones to go back into their place. However, having the chiropractor coming out to the barn 2 days later is perfect. It's perfect. Let her follow up. Let her see what's going on. Let her make any changes that need to be made in a horse's body that has much less muscle tension and isn't holding so tightly to that misalignment in the bones. So we found an answer for Teddy and his next step, which is seeing the chiropractor and making sure everything's good, right? Now, we're still in a waiting period. Like, there's going to be 2 days before the chiropractor comes. She's going to make any adjustments. And then we're going to wait a few more days, and the owner is going to get in touch with me and be like, hey, better, so much better, blah, blah, blah. This is what we're doing. Or she's going to be like, something's not right. And sometimes things get worse before they get better. And that is a normal healing pattern. Healing is never a straight line of easy peasy rice and cheesy. It's usually like, we're going to take 5 steps back, or 5 steps forward and 2 steps back, right? And that's okay. So we're kind of in that waiting period still. However, that is enough. What we've just done is gotten this far. Now we can say, okay, what's going on? So this is going to help Teddy become way more active and stay active long term, right? That's the kind of work that we're doing, this preventative work. And it totally reinforced my trust in my intuition. And it shows that this is a very valid way of doing the work. Intuition is something we can trust, right? So I do this intuitive assessment strategy where we're taking history, pictures, posture video, hands-on evaluation, doing work, waiting and repeating, because in that process, I'm going to know. I'm going to get an intuitive hit at some point that's going to tell me this is what's going on. And you do too. People get these hits all the time and we ignore them because we've been trained to ignore them throughout our entire lives, okay? So, all of that being said, I know that this group is full of driven horsewomen that deeply desire to be able to have a deep knowing of what the source of your horse's problem is and to be able to solve it. I know you guys want to do that, and I know that you can do it because I know you're already doing it on some level. You just haven't learned to trust that part of you yet, right? And I also know that a lot of you out there have tried symptom chasing. You've done that thing where you're like, oh, well, he just won't canter, so we're going to go to a trainer and we're going to get him to canter. You know, he just won't canter, so I called the vet out and we got some imaging done, but we still don't have any answers. He just won't do that, you know? Like, I know what that struggle is like. I have been there. I have lived it. You know, I have another client with a horse named Andy, and Andy was a champion racehorse, and then he took some time off. Right? They all do. It's his 2-year-old year. He was a champion, took time off for the winter, comes back his 3-year-old year, and was just a fucking bomb. Like, just nothing. Like, meh. And they did all kinds of things to address his poor performance. And he was just getting crankier and crankier. So, like, they did equipment changes, diet changes, stall changing, more pasture time, less pasture time, this vet, that chiropractor, shoeing changes, and the list goes on, right? I did 2 massages, so including 2 rounds of this intuitive assessment strategy. And I was able to tell them without a doubt that they had to get imaging of this area. And guess what they found? After all the vets that could have done the same thing, but apparently just didn't, Andy had a broken bone. So this strategy is how we identify what's really going on without all the symptom chasing. All of this is covered in depth in the Intuitive Equine Bodywork Certification Program. It shows you how to know the answer without symptom changing, with the 2 intuitive assessment strategies, within just a couple hours. Like, you jump in the program, you go learn some hands-on eval techniques, some picture taking techniques, some video taking techniques, and boom, you start making assessments just like that. So if you're the kind of person who tends to second guess yourself, just like I have always done too, leading up to really stepping into this power, intuitive assessment strategies like totally work best. Because when you're prone to self-doubt, we need a way to lay out information that ends up supporting what we're seeing, and a way that we can check that what we're getting intuitively makes logical sense too, right? So no need to worry about second guessing when you can actually make a hypothesis with an intuitional hit and then back it up with all of this information that you've collected through all of your senses, so that you have no doubt that this is how things work. So the other thing that I found is that I would get overwhelmed with the amount of possibilities of problems that a horse could have, right? And that's so easy. Like, the amount of information on the internet is unreal and totally awesome. It's awesome until you actually have to sift through it and decide what makes sense and what doesn't. But when you're using intuitive assessment strategies, you are able to just cut through the overwhelm by working with the information that you already have at your disposal, that you've taken in through all of these steps that we've already taken. The reality is we don't need a fancy name. We don't need an actual diagnosis of what the horse's issue is or a rigorous plan to conform our lives to in order to make improvements with our horses. We can take small steps and make small changes that make really big impacts. The truth is that you can choose self-doubt and overwhelm. But imagine what would happen if you didn't. What would it feel like to have the ability to just know, to know in your bones that you can help your horse and others? What if you are truly the best person to help your horse? The Intuitive Equine Bodywork Certification Program is for driven horsewomen just like you, who want to know beyond a shadow of a doubt how to help horses who are done with chasing symptoms and self-doubt, who refuse to be overwhelmed and confused about how to really solve problems for horses. So I'm going to put a link in the comments of this live video here to the Intuitive Equine Bodywork Certification Program. You can go check that out. There's some testimonials there. There's an explanation of how the program works. And then you can, check out what your payment options are there. For right now, this program is just $997, which is a steal of a deal because it also comes with the Keys to the Kingdom business growth program to make sure that you launch the business that you want to have. Okay? So go check that out and know that you absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, you are the best person to heal your horse. And healing your horse is just the beginning of what you're truly capable of. So that is all I have for you guys today. Happy fucking Tuesday. And I'll catch you next time.